My name is Lewis Black. I'm president, founder, CEO of Almonty, and I'm still the second largest shareholder. We are uh, a tungsten and moly company that primarily focuses on our deposit in Korea, which is world's largest tungsten mine, formerly when it was open and closed in 93, and in one of the Asia's largest moly mines, which is attached to our tungsten mine. So, as was brought up, our share price has responded for a number of reasons, predominantly because of geopolitics. But this has been a long time coming. You can see that we've been essentially inching up over the last 24 months. And most importantly, our liquidity over these last 24 months has increased significantly, not just on the recent geopolitics, but even prior to that. So where we are now some 10 times or more higher than our nearest competitor within tungsten, which is essentially made sure that we've broken away from this sector, which is very important. We have a fairly diverse shareholder base, but we've resisted the temptation of having a rich uncle. We've always done this internally, both through friends of the family and through majority of long-standing shareholders. We're quite unique in that regard, in that our first set of shareholders back in the day when we did the IPO of Almonty, when we bought the Los Santos project, we've still got them, and they've more than doubled their money. So this is quite rare for a junior not to have gone through 2 or 3 sets of shareholders. So I think we've done a good job in preserving value for shareholders because, of course, the main reason is because, well, I'm a very large one and I've put a lot of money into this. So it makes complete sense. We have a number of assets. Portugal, which is producing, it's an old mine. It makes money every month, which is important. Not a huge amount, but it was never expected to. But it contains within it a pool of knowledge that has allowed us to do this number 2 project, which is Samdong, which is obviously something which is far superior to what Portugal is now, and with a grade significantly higher. So I've always said, if we can make money with really what ends up being a real grade of 0.11 underground in Portugal, imagine what we can do with a grade of 0.5 underground in South Korea. We also have the Valtrashal mine. This is fully permitted bar the environmental permit. I think anyone who follows mining in Europe will be fully aware that in the last 8 years, the Spanish government has not issued any new environmental permits for metal mines. This seems to be a policy of the government, and until such time as that changes, this project will remain as is, but it's ready to go. Los Santos, the tailings, as soon as I've got a career open, I'll turn my attention to it. There's only one of me, so I don't have endless amounts of time during the day. But it's important because the plant in Los Santos is ready to go to Valtrashal and has been maintained for that purpose. But I think it's very important to feel that our internal growth is not fueled by project 3 or 4, but by project 2. Because project 2 is not just tungsten, it's also the moly, and it's also the downstream tungsten. So I know you guys have all been waiting, or the shareholders have been waiting. Oh, what's been going on? So when I presented last, you saw the picture on the right, my right, maybe your left. And now we're at this later stage of heading into the finish line. Please note the color of the plant is obviously matched to our Almonty colors. There's no Korean significance of this color, except it's a color that I like. And but you can see we are well advanced. We've had a bit of a tough winter. I always said last year when I presented, I was worried about snow. I probably should have also added, because I never considered it, extreme cold, because unbeknownst to me, extreme colds doesn't allow much snow, but you can't actually work when it's minus 20 Celsius or less, because in Korea, like in many jurisdictions, you can't handle steel bar in anything less than minus 10. Apparently, the skin can stick to it. So it has, allowed us to, drag on a little bit longer than I would have liked. We've lost probably 2 or 3 weeks. But again, this idea of a junior miner always racing to the finish line to then have created this black hole of money pit is not really for me. We have, as always we've said, we've walked to the finish line. Do it properly, do it right the first time. In this time, under our construction, our pilot plants still operate. We're still constantly assessing. We're constantly examining. There should be, no reason to mess this up. And I think that's very important. And this idea that you can open a mine and it doesn't work pretty much as designed out the gate is insane. It has to do that. It can't be in 12 months or 18 months. Oh, we're still looking at this, we're doing that. That's not how this works at all, because it's your money and my money that has to feed it. And that's not good. So, yes, geopolitics is a big factor here. We've got restrictions coming into the Department of Defense in regard to where they can procure tungsten from. Obviously, Iran, North Korea, China, and Russia are now excluded, which pretty much means there's really only us pretty much left. There are export restrictions on dual use, which unfortunately pretty much disqualifies everybody, because the exports ban or the export license requirement is so broad that anyone even making, braking parts that they manufacture and are bought by a company who in turn supplies it to the military for armored vehicles potentially could be disqualified. And so I think what I'm seeing in the sector right now from talks with my customers, and I would imagine very soon to be customers, is a broad acceptance that the gig is up. Real diversification has to occur now. There has to be a plan B. And how long is it going to take us to get up to full capacity of phase 2? These are the questions I'm being asked. Obviously, NATO has been going on about this, and we've seen Rheinmetals looking continually for supply. I don't think I need to tell anybody here what the problem is. The share price is doing the talking here. We are considered by the market the last man standing, and this brings on an interesting point. And it's a point that I would like to talk about. I mean, we can talk about price, we can talk about all the things, but what sets us apart? What is different about Almonty that we're trading, as I said, more than 6-7 times the value of our nearest competitor in tungsten? What is it about Almonty that gives us the liquidity of more than 10 times our nearest competitor? Despite all the abuse and grief we get from our competitors about, because of course everybody likes to throw rocks at the guy that's broken away from the sector, but have we broken away for the right reasons? And I'm going to share with you why I think it is. What is our difference? Firstly, we're the only company in tungsten that has direct government involvement. We have a lender in the German State Bank, secured by a guarantee from the Austrian Finance Ministry. We have unprecedented existence for land, infrastructure, direct investment in that regard from the Korean government. So we have 3 governments already that are involved in what we're doing. And governments don't take these commitments lightly. This isn't just a soft loan under a broader package. This is identifying this as a strategic moment where they can resolve a lot of their current concerns in this sector through a company. We have premiums paid on our material. None of our competitors receive a premium. We do. There's a reason for that. And it's not just because of my sparking personality. It's because the product we produce is reliable, consistent, to spec, and desirable. We receive floor prices on our larger contracts, where such contracts, if the price turned against us, could be absolutely detrimental. We don't get this because I'm a lovely guy. We get this because our track records and our project and our approach gives our customers confidence that no matter what the future brings, they will be able to depend and rely on the delivery and specification of our agreements. And that is very important. And I think it's really one of our cornerstones of what we do going forward. If I look at our share price performance, it has been very positive, but it's not just because of geopolitics. What else makes us different? Well, we'll be the only, as we finish our redomiciling, don't forget to vote. The vote is on the 27th. We'll be the only US company currently producing tungsten, which is important. We have always focused on value, always. Yes, we've done, raises over the years, but we've avoided being with a rich uncle for a very specific reason, because our independence has given us the strength to do what we've done. That's why we've been able to attract this support. We've also operated mines for decades, tungsten mines. I think that's also something which is very much forgotten. The difference between us and our competitors. We've done this a long time. Our mines have always made money. We forget how successful Los Santos was. We bought it for very little money. We turned it around, and I think in 4 months we were already making money, and by the end it was making extraordinary levels of money. I think it's something which is lost in the annals of history. This is what we do. And I think we look at the fact that management directly invests, myself particularly. We have a 100-year plus track record in what we do. Portugal, I've owned twice. This is my second go around with them, but that team has allowed me to develop Korea. We are making decisions for the shareholders, me, not for the management. This is also a huge distinction. And I think one of the testaments of what it's like working at Almonty is we have a very low turnover of senior and mid-level staff. No one leaves. It's not that I've got them trapped in a room. It's not that I haven't got anyone chained in the basement. They stay with us because they understand what we're trying to achieve here. And I think if you look at our customers, we've only ever worked with EU, US, Japanese customers, and soon, I hope, well, I know, Korean customers. We've made that decision. It's we're not saying that we don't respect our Vietnamese and Chinese customers, but we've never chosen to work in that way. And I think that commitment to Western consumption has certainly borne fruit for us over the years. And I think one other point to make, because I can keep this up for days, one other point is to say that KfW Apex, which is considered to be tier 1 project finance lender, it has a phenomenal and fantastic reputation. We're the first tungsten project that they've backed to this level of 80% of cost. I mean, we're almost certainly the smallest loan they've ever done for 80% of a project cost, but we're the first. And I think that also, you think KfW went into this blind. They put me through 4.5 years of due diligence. So 2.5 years of due diligence and 2 years of compliance. I mean, this has been a journey. So we've essentially earned our stripes here. Now, what do we think the future holds? Uh, who knows, really? From my point of view, and I know this sector very well, I've been in it a long time. I'm coming up to, well, it's got to be close to 20 years if I had in the first ownership of Portugal. I mean, it's a long time to be in this sector. We believe that China has now introduced a mechanism to control the export of material at their election. We also are aware that there's the potential at the next CCP Congress in March that the environmental rules regarding the consumption and importation of scrap, tungsten scrap, is going to be got rid of, allowing them to also feed from tungsten scrap procured around the world, meaning that now China is fully in competition with all Western consumers on both raw materials, as in concentrate, and on scrap. This is a dynamic which we've never experienced. So we don't know how this is all going to play out. We've signed, obviously, our deal with SEAR, the world's second largest moly oxide smelter. Fantastic guys. Plancy's great guys too, as well, in case they are watching this and they say I didn't mention them. They're great guys too. But SEAR great guys. We are now working through local debt to build it. It's obviously a much easier story internally because it's going to be shipped domestically in Korea. And then my understanding is it will find its way to their new plant in Texas to provide the specialty moly steel for SpaceX and for the US missile defense sector. We raised money recently over Christmas and New Year. That also is a big distinction of how we're viewed. No junior can raise money over Christmas, New Year. It's just not possible. But we did. And we raised what we needed to take care of a problem, which is one of the reasons why we've seen our stock, I think, also free itself up. But I don't want to say any more on that because I don't want to end up in litigation. This is all being handled separately, but it's all good for me. But it shows how our shareholders view us, that we were able to raise money when we so desired. I didn't want to do the raise, but I had to because I had to fix this problem. But I don't want to do any more raises. This is it. We're now on the finish line. I don't have interest in further raises. You can hold me to it. But I think it's important. It's a good highlights how we're viewed by the wider investing audience. We're relocating to the States. Look, I like Canada. We've been there a long time. But I think that we need a bit of the excitement that's now underway in the US regarding certain strategic metals and us being front and center in that in tungsten. And I think being a US company is certainly going to do us no harm. We're keeping the listings. Everybody stay calm. Australia and in Canada, and of course our German listing. But from a re-domiciling point of view, I believe we have good, valid reasons to go. I think we will not suffer because of it. I think we will benefit. And, I think in terms of how I believe our next 4 years looks, phase one opens in Sandong shortly, 2 to 3 months, I would estimate. Phase two, we'll start work on that immediately when we commission phase one. A lot of the work has already been done. We expect within 12 months to have phase two online. That may seem crazy. My competitors will be all up in arms saying, oh, how can you double production? How can you do this in 12 months? Well, because a lot of the work, like the grinding circuit, infrastructure and plant, space has already been done under phase one. So most of the work, especially the long lead time things, has been concluded, which is good. We want to, finalize what we say financing for phase two. It's roughly about $17 million US. I'm going to try and do it internally from my earnings. I'll do my usual junior minor, Almonty approach to things. We'll scrape it together. It's not a huge significant amount of money, but imagine this: $17 million, you double your output. I mean, it's a big win for us as shareholders. We want to try and nut down the debt piece for the Samdong moly this year. So those conversations are underway. I don't have much time to do anything else, but this is another one of my focus. And in regard to the downstream tungsten oxide, we are now, those conversations with the government are now advancing at a faster pace. They obviously, what's happening with the geopolitics has meant that, now we have to really get going. They've given us a site, or they've identified a site they're going to give us, which is important. Let me see during this year whether I have further news on that, which I believe I will. And so we're going to fund our growth through this mine. It has tungsten and moly, and I think that's important. We're not going to look externally at this time for acquisition. We're going to focus our attention on our near-term growth internally. So on that, because I see I've got 7 minutes left, and I know that they run a tight ship on this forum. Let's see if there's any questions. Otherwise, I can keep going. You let me know, Julian.
Lewis, I don't know what to tell you. There is, for the first time ever, you present absolutely no question or comments. So go on. Go on. And in the meantime,
Really?
I invite every part. It's the most participant we ever have for you. No
And there's
question.
no questions?
Nothing.
I knew I lost. When did I lose them? Page 3. I knew page 3 was a problem.
No, I think you lost them at hello,
All
but
right.
that's me. So anyone that's listening right now, please write your question in the Q&A or the chat. I'll be happy. In the meantime,
I'll carry on. I will carry on with what makes us different. The moly mine, it's fully permitted, both environmental and mining permits, which is in a democracy unheard of. I mean, it means it's ready to go. And we've never really talked about the moly because obviously the focus has always been tungsten. But the moly has the potential to make a profound effect on the company. I like to describe it that phase 1 tungsten is X revenue. Phase 2 is 2X. The moly mine is 4X. So it means that as a company, as a group, we can see a clear path to 4 times our revenue within assets that we currently own and are already permitted. The missing pieces were an off-taker, that box is checked, and the finance. It will be addressed as we've done with the tungsten. Are there questions coming?
Yes, they are, and now it's flooding. I just had to open the valve. I don't know what's happening.
No one was paying attention. They were all making tea.
The first question I got was a comment, which is, as a longtime holder, thank you for your tremendous due diligence. Liebe Grüße. So thank you very much. This is great. Okay. A lot of the questions are about turnover 2026 or this year. What do you expect for the first year of production as a turnover?
Ooh. As an operator, you don't want to ever jinx it. But the good news is we're working soft commissionings now on grinding circuit. And remember, we're not a gravity plant. We're a flotation plant. It's a big difference. Flotation is chemical. It's a far more predictable ramp up.
Yeah.
So we've allowed a 60-day ramp up. Ask me again at the next IIF.
Perfect. One analyst is asking, analyst from First Berlin says, can you explain how you have managed to reduce the ramp-up period at Shandong from 9 months to 3 months since the December IIF presentation?
Well, hello, Simon. How are you? I think, as I just said, we've been doing soft commissionings as we complete sections. So when we do a 9-month ramp up, it's normally considered done when you've actually finished the project. But we've actually decided to do the soft commissionings as we build. So as we finish the grinding circuit, we start the commissioning. And that's how we've been able to reduce it. Sorry, Simon, it's not a gotcha moment. But I'm sure your next question will be.
All good. Mark is asking, in the future, with good cash flow, do you plan on paying dividend or focusing on M&A or development? I think you answered that through focusing on internal growth, but your message.
Internal growth and paying a dividend makes the assumption that we'll be the proud owners of this going forward. But think about what we have, what we've done, and who's involved with us. I would say and given my track record of exits, I mean, as if I was a betting man, I
You
would
can
say
stop
that.
here. You don't say more
Okay,
than that. You
sorry.
can stop here. That's quite clear. Eric from Quebec is asking, what are the risks to the tungsten price going down per Chinese flooding or so? You touched that through your flooring of prices. Maybe just a few words again on it.
I have a hard floor, so China can do whatever they want, but I have a hard floor, meaning I can survive it. But they have less mines now in China. They've been closing them. They've cut the subsidies, and they have much higher costs. Hence, why they're a net importer of Western concentrate now.
Perfect. Hence has an interesting question. Is there any plan to develop Mugok, the gold project?
No. And very simply, I'll tell you why. The residents don't want it, and they built a church on the site. And to be between me and you, I don't want to be the one knocking that church down. It's just something which doesn't look good on social media. And the residents will not stand for any of it. So nobody will develop that site. But I may have a little surprise in Portugal for everybody in that area. But hold your horses, all will be revealed later this year.
This is difficult, Lewis. Then all of a sudden, everyone gets excited. We need to say something else. You have to come back to the next IIF. You're creating so much expectation. Let's go with another question. Hold on. Some question came in by email also. Sandang was also known to host bismuth. This was also mined in the past. Any comments on that?
Yes, we in the past, 8% of revenue came from byproducts in Shandong. It was bismuth, gold, and silver, and a little bit of moly. These were the four, but predominantly bismuth and gold and silver. We have done all the work on that. We've never included it in our models, but yes, we will see a significant contribution to our revenue from these byproducts. But I never wanted to confuse the situation. I hate mines or tungsten mines that talk about their byproducts as a justification for economic viability. I want to focus. We are a tungsten mine, and we happen to have 8% of our revenue, as it did in the past, from byproducts. But we'll talk more about that when we commission.
Perfect. Let me see one more question. Well, I think you answered the approach for takeover. Any updates regarding the tungsten oxide plan? You need money, and when will you start? I think you touched that also.
We touched it. We will find the debt funding for that internally in Korea through the Korean government.
Well, Lewis, it's 4:30 on the nose. We answered all questions. You discussed absolutely everything. And I think people are out of question because simply with your project update, you provide the answers as a real mining company should do, and not through words, but through action. So Lewis, thank you very much for being once again with us today. We will all be continuing following the story. We wish you we're knocking on wood. We don't want to jinx it, but continue wishing you the best for the near future, Lewis.
Thanks very much, Julian. Take care.
Thank you, Father.
Thank you.